In this video, we're going to show you how to plan and install a transom along an exterior wall like this bedroom. We'll show you how to set the width and height of the window matching your opening. Then we'll talk about matching the jamb size to your exterior wall. We've helped thousands of people do this, homeowners and contractors, so don't feel intimidated. All parts of this video are taken from the planning section of our website, where we have videos on many different types of installations. At Transoms Direct, we build custom-sized windows to fit your opening, which makes life easier in those exterior situations where repairing or changing brick or siding can be very time-consuming. So let's get started installing a window into your opening. If your installation doesn't look like the one that we're showing here, check out the planning section of our website. Chances are we already have a video series built for your exact situation. At Transoms Direct, our basic product is a transom window sash that you order with specific dimensions, width and height. Whether you order a transom sash made of exterior grade wood or vinyl, both are sized and ordered in an identical way. You elected to install a transom along an exterior wall with a four-sided rough opening like you see here. To facilitate this installation, a jamb will be attached to the outside edge of the transom sash so that the sash unit may be mounted into the rough opening. The jamb serves as a sort of adapter between the thinner transom sash and the thicker wall. When you add a jamb to the sash, you now have a transom unit that is slightly larger in height and width than the dimensions of the sash size that you order. Jambs are made of 1x material, and 1x material is exactly 3/4 of an inch thick. Since the jamb forms a perimeter all the way around the transom sash, the jamb adds an additional 3/4 of an inch along each edge of the transom sash, left, right, top, and bottom. Cumulatively, you end up with a transom unit for installation that is 1 1/2 inch wider and 1 1/2 inch taller than the sash size you order. Again, a transom sash enclosed in a jamb is called a transom unit. We consider such transom units with a jamb ready to install. Most customers do have us add a jamb to their transom sash before it leaves the factory. Our exterior jambs have a sloped sill at the bottom and are well sealed against water infiltration. We also offer a convenient weather sill option, which we'll explain a little bit later in this planning process. We suggest all customers include a jamb when they purchase an exterior transom from us. Now, let's relate this discussion back to your rough opening and the width and height that you will choose for the transom sash that you order. We recommend that you order a sash that is 2 inches narrower in width and 2 inches shorter in height than the rough opening that you've already built. Or that you build a rough opening that is 2 inches wider and 2 inches taller than the transom sash you plan to use. We call this the 2-inch rule. Let's look at some examples. If you have a 50-inch wide by 14-inch tall rough opening already built, you would order a transom sash that is 2 inches narrower, or 48 inches, and 2 inches shorter, or 12 inches. The 2-inch difference in dimensions between the rough opening and the sash size easily accommodates the 1 1/2 inch added by the jamb. The extra 1/2 inch left over in each dimension allows us some flexibility in installation to ensure that the transom unit is set plumb, square, and level into the rough opening. On the other hand, if you start by choosing the size of your window sash, like this 32-inch wide and 40-inch tall window, you would construct a rough opening that measures 34 inches wide and 42 inches tall, or 2 inches larger in height and width. In the next video, you'll determine the jamb depth that you need for your installation based on your wall thickness. After you have planned your rough opening and finalized the dimensions of your transom sash, it's time to size the depth of your jamb. Since the jamb is a sort of adapter that fits the thinner transom sash into your thicker wall, the jamb must be sized to fit your exact building situation. Jambs only have one measurement that changes, the jamb depth. The jamb depth that you order should be equal to the thickness of the wall where you plan to install the transom. There are two ways of determining your wall thickness, one by physically measuring, and the second by adding up the thickness of the wall's materials. Let's look at an example of an exterior wall to determine the wall thickness. Here's a bathroom we're renovating where we plan to remove this old fiberglass tub and replace it with a tile shower. Since we want to add natural light in the bathroom, we plan on adding a transom right here above the shower. After we remove the tub and take away the insulation, we can see the framing studs of the exterior wall. At the back of these wall studs, you can see the exterior wall sheathing on the outside of the house. This exterior wall sheathing is a type of plywood called OSB. All houses have some form of exterior wall sheathing, just like this. Whether you have siding, brick, stone, or stucco, they're all on the other side of this wall sheathing you see here. This house has siding, but that doesn't matter in terms of measuring the wall thickness to size your jamb, since all measurements are taken from the other side, the exterior side of this plywood sheathing, and don't include any exterior cladding like siding or brick. Now, most carpenters can tell you the exterior wall thickness of your home before you even start your project, but it's easiest to explain wall thickness with the opening already framed like you see here. This is the same rough opening we sized in our last video. Now let's measure the wall thickness. But to get the correct measurement, we need to finish preparing our wall opening. We added back the insulation and finished the interior side of the wall with drywall around the window and Durock wall board for the tile that we plan on adding below. Here's a side angle of the opening where we can see the exterior plywood sheathing on the outside, the wall stud, and the drywall we've applied on the inside. This sandwich of materials is what we call the wall assembly. Remember, the transom sash that you sized in the previous video is around 1 3/4 inches thick. So we're measuring for the jamb depth that will attach the transom sash to your wall. Measure your wall thickness from the inside edge of the drywall to the outside edge of the exterior wall sheathing. But again, do not include any cladding like siding or brick in the measurement. In our case, we had a wall thickness of 4 9/16 inch, which is typical for a 2x4 exterior wall. Exterior wall thickness do differ by regions of the country. In the north, 2x6 exterior walls are typical, with wall assemblies measuring 6 9/16. Other areas of the country like California can have earthquake shear walls, so it's important to determine the wall thickness correctly. We can include any size jamb you need for your transom order. Another option is to ask your contractor to determine the exterior wall thickness before the opening is framed. He'll probably look at the hinge side of an exterior door and measure to the edges of the flat jamb on each side of the doorstop, being careful not to include any casing in the measurement. Since the thickness of exterior walls is usually uniform around the house, this is usually an accurate method to find your wall thickness. The door jamb I've shown here is on the first floor of the house, and it measured exactly 4 9/16 inches, which corresponds to the same 2x4 wall assembly we measured in our previous example in the upstairs bathroom. If you use this method, be sure to measure an exterior door that goes directly outside above the basement, not a door to the garage or a basement door where the wall might have a greater thickness. To summarize, always order a jamb depth that is equal to or slightly thicker than your actual wall measurement. If you decide to calculate your wall thickness by adding components in your wall assembly, also add 1/16 of an inch buffer to that final sum. A jamb that is slightly deeper than your finished wall assembly will not be noticeable after final installation. Thanks for watching.